So, yeah, good evening, Seema, and it's really nice that you agreed to go live for this discussion because the
I'm equally excited. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to exchange ideas and to explore the opportunities which are available to us.
yeah. So we can keep it very open. We can You can just start with some questions and we can take it from there, and we'll see how the discussion flows.
Okay. Yeah, basically, the thought process was that it seems, especially for the younger children, it seems very challenging. The present time, we are all used to a very structured mode of learning where we feel that physical presence is the prerequisite to education. So unless, we are face to face or physically present,
Sure.
education perhaps or formal education cannot happen. Now this very premise is being challenged in the present times.
Yeah.
So how can we remain engaged, uh, particularly like I said in the age group of pre-primary and primary,
Mm-hmm.
where the formal learning has to take place, but without physical presence.
Yeah.
And also the very fact that the child is too young to be, uh, you know, to be physically bound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So how could we address such a challenge? Because I also foresee that it is not something which is short term,
Sure.
but perhaps something which will now be like a paradigm shift in education, even though we are only looking at it in primary and pre-primary. Of course it extends to the entire education field, not just limited to pre-primary and primary. But presently I feel that we would like to address the challenge more in terms of younger children.
Okay, so I'm glad that you're putting it as an opportunity to take a paradigm shift. Yeah,
Hmm.
and so I would say let's not look at it as a challenge.
Right.
Let us look at it as an opportunity to look at where we would like to be,
Yes.
right? Because this paradigm shift that we can make,
Hmm.
which is possibly required by the education system, and it's high time to do that. Um, and then we'll see whether how it addresses the challenge. Yeah.
Right.
So the challenge is a smaller thing. I would say what we want to achieve is a bigger bigger goal. As I said, which will transcend this situation and everything else. So the question that is primary in my mind is that uh, is is that the education till now has been always the school or the teachers or the whole education system educating the child. Right? I want to say that is it that are we ready to see it the other way around? Are we saying what I'm saying is that can the education be led by the child? Can the child's education, can the child be the leader of the child, which means that the school or the teachers are not educating the child is educating the child, as in the child is responsible for his or her learning. Yeah, and the child is leading his or her learning, and the school and the teachers and the parents and everybody else is let's call them as support or guide or an ecosystem which helps the child achieve that responsibility. uh,
True.
what this how does this sound to you, that the child is now can we look at the child being the leader of his or her own learning?
Very true. And I think that's the spirit that I saw reflected when I attended a couple of your webinars. And that, in fact, is what, brought, I felt that we were on a common platform, at least as far as thinking is concerned. Also, I feel certain elements of Montessori certain elements of, say, the ancient Gurukul system, where the student lived the life and was educated through living,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah.
So if you translate that to the current times, if you were to bring the Gurukul method and transfer it or translate it into the modern times, then the child is presently, or the child is at home, and the home itself is the learning environment for the child. The family are the facilitators,
Yeah.
and daily life is a huge opportunity for the child to learn and grow. And in fact, that is the basis of the child's education. The subject matter, or theory comes much later. So in a way, the practical daily living is the education which is required, which forms the basis of education in pre-primary and primary. That's how uh, I uh, I also look at it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's say two things. I want to say two things. One is that life is the curriculum.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
we open it up to the life being the curriculum,
right.
and the child being the driver of that life. Obviously, it's the child's life, so the child being is the driver. And I would not even limit it to pre-primary, primary, or any age for that matter. Right? At any age, I am living my life. That is the basic fundamental truth, you can call it. Till I'm alive, I'm alive, right? I'm living my life. And if I'm living my life, shouldn't I be the one deciding in some ways, how do I live this life? What do I want to do with my, let's say, today or this hour or this week or this month or this year? And then I see, to be able to do what I want to do, now what help or support I need, right? And the learning that we want the child to do will automatically happen. Let me give you an example. Let's say if a child wants to, let's say, do, let's say painting, a simple thing. Right? Child wants to make a drawing or make a painting. Yeah. Now, the first thing is that the child wants to do it, not we. Okay. And when does the child do it? The child wants to do it now. The child doesn't have to wait for a time to do it, right? It's not like, okay, you can do drawing only in the drawing class and I can do whatever else. So let's say if I like to do drawing, I can do it now, right now. And I can then start thinking, hey, what help or what resources I need. Let us say I have some skills, so I know that I can create this much, but I've also seen other paintings or other drawings on, let's say, internet or anywhere else, and I may wish that, oh, I could also do it that way, right? So now is a time where I need either some resources to be able to do that what I'm aspiring for, but again realize that I am aspiring for as a child, right? It's not somebody else who's telling me that today you have to do this style. No, I am aspiring for it. Now I'm looking for resources, and the resources could come to me from many ways. Material resources might be required. That's where the family can come in. The parents can ensure that the material resources are made available, or if the child is part of a school, the school can ensure that that is available. And the next one is, oh, I may need some guidance. I may need somebody to tell me how to do this, or give me a clue, or show me a demo, or something like that. And that is where suddenly the whole world is available to me. Because one is, yes, my teachers or my parents or my neighbors or my cousins are available. But if you really expand that circle, if you look into things like, for example, YouTube or the millions of other art websites, then almost limitless resources are available for me to, let's say, watch a video for 10 minutes and then try it out. Yeah. And then maybe I may need again somebody to talk to, and I can connect to some resource who is then able to help me. And the interesting thing is that this resource can be an adult, a teacher, or a painter, but could also be another child who has already learned this technique, who has already done this, and now that child can guide me. So, the moment we say, hey, you can learn what you want to learn, provided you are ready to, provided the ecosystem is there to support the child, then we are on. Yeah. Then the rest of the people, that is the parents, the teachers, the school, everybody has to see now how do we help the child achieve what the child is wanting to learn.
Right. Now, in principle, I agree absolutely with what you're saying.
Hmm.
The challenge that we feel is perhaps in our own mindset and
Yeah.
also in the implementation of the ideal picture, you know.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so
I will tell you
how do
one
I
more challenge.
trans?
I will tell you one more challenge, which
Hmm.
maybe has not occurred to you right now, is that parents will say, "Oh, then how will he learn science, and how will she learn mathematics, and how will she learn so on and so forth, right? So many other things." And that is where I personally think that that is where the teacher comes in, that is where the school comes in, that is where the parents come in. They know that in any, even if I'm making a painting, there is maths in it. If I'm doing painting, there is science in it. It is just not linearly divided into subjects and standards, but I can understand how paints are made, what is a pigment, what chemicals are made, what is a chemical, to understand what is paint. And because I'm making painting, I'm ready to understand that, right? In the same way, I can understand what is the mathematics of, let's say, the paper I'm using. What is the ratio? What is the size? What is this by this? What do when I rotate? What is a diagonal? And in art, where you have the perspectives, there's lines, there's so much of geometry, so much of mathematics actually alive there. So again, a lot of these things can easily be built into mathematics. The science of what is a color, how do we see the red color, and how do we see the green color, and why when red and green are mixed, we get another color. So there's lots right there. If we are not so finicky about that, we have to go a standard one, chapter one only, and standard two, chapter two next year, and so on. Then the
So in
moment
any
you,
case, we are on one hand, struggling to say make it cross curricular, make,
yeah, yeah,
do away with the demarcations. So, in a way, we are coming full circle by first dividing into subjects and now saying let's merge the boundaries and come back
yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
have things cross curricular. So this is actually a leapfrog from that very thought process. So this is the culmination of that thought, that why are we merging the boundaries, or why do we want to blur the boundaries and go back to cross curricular education, which is the integration of learning basically, which is not divided into subjects as you are saying. So yes, I agree absolutely. So you said the challenge is there, and which is one of the reasons why we thought that it would be easier to implement with pre-primary and primary, where
Okay.
subject boundaries are not so rigid, and
Mm-hmm.
learning can happen, and learning of that basic level can be showcased.
Sure, sure.
uh, so that was one thought process,
Mm-hmm.
uh, why we are, and of course the fact that we would not be able to implement across the board. There is
Okay.
also a learning curve for us, for the school, for the teachers.
Yeah.
So it would have to happen, maybe with a smaller group, and then expand the reach as we go along, and as we ourselves mature in the philosophy, you know.
Yeah, so okay, so we can do it for our convenience. We can first talk about the pre-primary or the primary age group,
Right.
and talk about this integrated approach where it's not subject wise, but we are cross-curricular. We are looking at enriching the learning from different facets into whatever the child is doing right now, rather than taking the child one by one into different subjects. So we can talk about that, and
Yeah.
then maybe today, if we have time, or in another call, we can talk about what we can do with the older age group uh, at the same time, because the approach can be a little different there.
Right.
And the needs, if they are different, can also be met differently. So let's for the time being, let's talk about the pre-primary and the primary age group.
Yes,
So
because I felt that the pre-primary was most amenable to, because they are not as yet defined by curriculum as much as the senior classes may
Sure,
be.
sure, sure.
And also, I think the parent is also so much more flexible and open
Yeah.
to the child
With the
being in.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. So with the pre-primary, to me, the key word is what I call as integrated learning. Right?
Yes.
The moment I integrate everything into whatever the child is doing,
Hmm.
then there is no problem. Now you are talking about the challenges in implementing it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Now, what are the challenges? Let's start from where what challenges are coming in your mind first. What do you think would be an issue?
First of all, our own mindset. We are so used to a structured timetable, a
Mhm.
structured day, a
Yeah.
structured syllabus, which has to be covered more to give us a sense of comfort, a sense of achievement that we have covered and we have done this. So
Okay.
that is one. Of course, for the teacher, the implementation would again be a challenge to unlearn what she has been doing and then to relearn, to let go, to
Mhm.
give that freedom.
Mhm.
That lack of structure brings a lot of insecurity. It causes anxiety,
Mhm.
and so those emotions and feelings are something which the teacher has to cope with, because she has to first overcome her own anxiety to be able to comfort the parent that she knows what she's doing and that it will bring results. So that's uh, a next concern that I have. And then, of course, the concern of the actual process and the content of that process. So
Okay.
somewhere we have to be confident of what we are doing, how we are doing, why we are doing, and how, what is the outcome that we are looking for, and then how to assess and monitor that the outcome is actually we are actually getting the outcome and that the process is successful. So it's that, and this monitoring or this uh, assessment is required not just for our own comfort but also for the parent. And I think the parent should know, has to know as to what is the progress that the child has made.
Okay. 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 So let's start with the assessment and see if the way we look at assessment can actually solve all the challenges. You
Okay.
told me about roughly four challenges. You know,
Right.
I'm seeing if we look at it that way, can we take care of everything? Yeah, one
Hmm.
shot. It
Hmm.
has to be simple for it to work, right?
Right.
Uh, uh, so what? So if you look at assessment, what is the essential need of assessment? If I choose a different word, I would say assessment is tells me how the child is how and what the child is learning. Actually,
Yes.
not how. We can say what the child is has learned or is learning.
Yes.
Where is the child? So let's
Hmm.
say if I replace it with another word, what it means is that we need to track the child. Yeah. So
Yes.
what we are saying is, okay, so we are tracking that we need to track the child and how is the child doing on multiple tracks. Let's say there is a language track, right? Is the child able to, let's say, speak uh, fluently, let's say in English or Hindi or whatever language it might be, Tamil, right? Similarly, is the child able to write at least few words or in similar way, is the child able to read some words and so on. So I'm just giving you few examples of some tracks. So on each of these tracks, we may, as in the parents or the teachers, may want to track the child. Yeah. And again, if we start thinking that who can best track the child, I would say it's the child. Right? The child is the best person to track himself. But the thing is, we are shifting from assessing to tracking. Right? The moment we say, okay, let's track the child, because as a teacher with, let's say, 20 kids, it's not practically possible. Even with 10 kids, it may not be practically possible to track every time, everything, how the child is moving in different. But the child is doing something, so he can go and put a tick. He can put a mark that I have done something on this, right? So that is where our tracking can help the child as well as the parents and the teachers to know, okay, what all is happening. It's almost like a checklist. It's almost like if today at the end of the day you want to put a tick on what all you did, right? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Okay, yeah, you know 5 things you did and 5 things you did not do. So now it's very easy because I just need to put a tick or a mark against something which I know that I wanted to do. So in the same way, the assessment moves from assessment essentially means a judgment, an evaluation. Okay. And that I think is the root cause of the problem. The moment somebody is assessing me, neither I like, okay, at least I don't like to get assessed.
Right.
Neither when I was a kid nor now. Right? I don't know if you like being assessed or not as a person, but typically we don't like being judged or assessed at all. But we don't mind judging ourselves. We don't mind assessing ourselves. We don't mind saying, where am I on a certain thing? Yeah.
Right.
So what we have to do is, if we can bring this whole thing in front of the child, and let's assume the teacher says, okay, here are 5 things or 10 things, whatever be the list of things, on which we will all track everybody, as in each one will track himself or herself, and I will also kind of, because now I will have time, I don't have to drive your learning, I will also track you, right? I'll also have a chart in which I can just put a tick. Okay, this child is doing this child is doing this. Right? So the moment we now, so now what are we doing? We are looking for, uh, uh, let's say we are looking for, let's say one track is where the child is playing around with mathematical concepts, let's say addition, subtraction, or whatever, where the child is playing around with language, where the child is having social relationship. So I'm just using 3 examples here. So I have 3 tracks now. The teacher knows it, the child knows it. Now let's say the child says, okay, so but what are we doing today? Okay, or how, where is the structure? Okay, what do you want to do today? There is an art corner here, there is a music corner there, and so on. So we can have these, let's call them as centers or whatever you want to call them, as art center or art corner or whatever, however you physically structure it. Let's say as a child, I want to go to the art one and you want to go to the music one, right? Yeah, and in the music one, obviously there are other children, and we are maybe, let's say, playing drums, or we're trying to sing a song, or and in the art one, somebody is trying to make something. So that is where now in the art area, let's say, what are we, first of all, what are we observing? We are observing what the child is doing. Okay, the child is doing art, so I tick the art column, but where is the language now? So I need to, I as a teacher is immediately reminded, okay, would I like to bring in a language here, right? So would we like to read few lines? So as the children come in, I would say, okay, so would you like to read few lines? We'll all read few lines about what art are we going to explore today. Yeah. So who wants to read, and like that. So or everybody can have, or it can be on the board, or anything like that. Okay. So now we are reading, and then now let's little talk about it. So everybody's little talking about it. And then we get on to painting. And while painting also, I know that I can initiate a dialogue, right? I can talk to different children what they are thinking about it. And let's say at the end of the activity, again, I can bring in, okay, everybody write one line or one word. Okay. And the child may say, oh, I don't know the spelling. Okay, you don't know the spelling. Here is the spelling. So as a teacher, I am the resource because the child is asking me, Auntie, how to write this? Okay. Or ma'am, how to write this? Are you getting me?
Yes.
Because the
I,
teacher is thinking about language as part of the tracking, the teacher is consciously bringing language into it. Similarly, the teacher, when she looks at the track of, oh, there is also, then she can bring in a little bit of mathematics. Now, let us assume today the mathematics track did not get touched upon. No problem. There is a tomorrow. Tomorrow, she knows consciously that I can play down the language track because we already did that yesterday. And today we can go on to the mathematical track. So we will all start by measuring our paper. Okay, how much is this? Oh, I don't know these numbers. So that's how the children are all the time curious, wanting to know what are these numbers on the scale and so on. So if you're getting me, so once the teacher knows the tracks, the different tracks, and the children also know, oh, yes, I did numbers today. I saw a scale today and I measured my paper today. So I can tick mathematics. So child is also understanding, okay, he has met a friend called scale today. But that's the first introduction to the scale. It's not like in one shot the child will learn how to use a scale, but he met the friend first time. And if he keeps meeting this friend, let's say once in 10 days, 15 days, I'm sure by the end of the year, the child will be great friends with this thing called scale and the measurement part and so on. So if the whole thing works from this perspective, then the child can be actually involved in doing what the child is wanting to do without too much interference from the teacher, because the child is wanting to do it. And the teacher or the adult around, even the parent around, if the child is doing at home, can bring in this input today and that input tomorrow, and the third day, some other input, and so on. Yeah. Because we know that we want to track the child on a certain number of parameters. Yeah,
Right,
yes.
right. So I understand, how you are saying like the environment itself is the stimulation for the child, and we provide, all the stimulus in the environment so that the child is attracted to, various objects which are placed there, and then of course the child explores, and during the exploration is the child is also learning. Also, now the looking at the current situation, the challenge is that we are presently, everything is happening digitally online.
Mhm.
So the same concept or the same environment, um, is how to translate the physical thought process into the digital environment.
That's not at all difficult. Let us say because the children don't want to be in front of the digital device too long, okay,
And we don't
uh,
want them to be there
and we
for a.
also don't want them to be there too long. The
Yes,
idea is that the doing should happen uh, offline, as in not in front of the camera, right?
yes.
And when they come into the camera, they're now coming in to share what they have done. Now, each child wants to either talk or at least show what he has done. Or see, when they are talking about themselves, they are more than keen to talk, yeah, or
Hmm,
show if
hmm,
they're not very ready to talk, but at
hmm,
least they can show what they did, and the other persons can talk and ask to them. So when I'm coming online, I know it is more like I need to show what I did. Or I made this object and this is like this and this is like this. So then I'm very excited about it. And that is where the different things can the teacher or the person can bring in. So it's not a class, it's a sharing of what I did. The bigger benefit of this is that the parents also get an idea, hopefully, if they are listening, or they get a summary at the end, that, okay, this is what is happening. The child is doing this, and then the child is sharing, and this is how the teacher is, let's say, at the end of it, okay, today we will, I want you to do this. Let's say I want you to measure whatever you made, right? You
hmm.
get hold of a scale, get hold of your parent, and today we will measure, or today we will write one, or say, or whatever you were sharing, write it down with the help of your parent, or read one line or few lines about this on, let's say, internet or somewhere else with the help of. So again, I'm going back to the tracks. Depending on what is the track I want to play today, I play this with the children, and the children are doing it related to whatever they have done, right? Somebody could have made a craft. Somebody would have just studied it or watched a video on it. Somebody could have uh, drawn it. Somebody could have just talked about it. So these are the tasks that they did, but the culmination of the task is
Hmm.
now together. And they're more than keen to share everything together, and that is where essentially the tracking comes in. Again, the parents can be invited. Okay, did he use this concept? Did she use this concept? Did she use a lot of talking? Then we can, in the parents are automatically invited, talk to your child about the work that the child has done. Let the child speak out about the thing. So here the our role, as in the teacher's role, of talking, of interacting, of asking questions, let's say related to measurements or related to vocabulary, or whatever else we wanted to bring to the child, is is not just done by us, is also done by parents, because it's very simple. We are not trying to teach the child, we're trying to get the child to think and talk about it. And each child again can be tracked by the parent as well as uh, by the teachers, okay, and by the child, most importantly, right? I think once we are all not driving what the child is doing, but
Right.
are it's like how all mothers do that. In fact, I would say all mothers are by definition smart. They are smart because they know how to, let's say, put palak into the pakoda.
Hmm.
They know how to embed the nutritionally rich things into the laddus that the child likes to eating. So they will mix protein or flax seeds or this seeds into the, yeah, into the laddu that is being made because the child likes the laddu. So they know how to put in the nutrition. It's much the same thing. It's
Hmm.
whatever the child likes doing, I can always put in something which I know is now nutritionally rich for the child, as in learning wise rich into the child. If the child is doing cycling, great. Cycling is not time waste. If the child is taking bath for 1 hour, I say the child is, parents complain, oh, my child, he just keep playing with water endlessly. I say, wow. If the child is playing with water, there is so much you can do. You can just put in 10 different sizes or five, even two different sizes of mugs and say how much of small mug water will go into big mug and how much big mug will fill into the bucket and how much bucket will go into the this mug and that mug, and lo and behold, he's learning proportions. He's subconsciously learning a lot of quantities and relating it. He's counting. He can come back and say, mama, big bucket takes 10 of big, the bucket takes 10 of big mugs, but 33 of small mugs. I think that these kind of, data collection, data interpretation, conclusion, and the exclamation that comes with it is a far richer learning than telling them now we are going to learn maths.
Right.
So these little things, the ideas comes from the teachers. The implementation primarily is owned by the child, but again facilitated by the parents. That's the whole idea, right? So and it's and the teachers, it's I would say that's where the work becomes very exciting for the teachers, right? Because now they have to see that it doesn't matter what the child is doing. I always say an activity is not for learning, an activity is for activation, right? The moment I'm doing something, my mind is activated, right? There are thoughts going around, there is logic going around, there's flow going around. So I need to activate the child. And how do I activate? Just to give him an activity of his choice instead of my choice. Because when I say do this, if I tell you, Seema, now make a painting, you will say, ah, go, I don't want to paint. But if I ask you, what would you like to do, Seema? And you may say, oh, I want to, I want to go for a walk, right?
Right.
Now, what you are wanting can be more interesting. Then I can say, okay, Seema, you're going for walk. Okay, see how many big steps you take and how many small steps you take. Now, suddenly I've converted your walk into how many?
Hmm.
And I can, somebody saying, okay, Auntie, I'm not going for a walk, I'm going for cooking. And I can think how many in cooking. And anything, you are with me. Any activity can bring in this how many.
Right.
So
So
I just,
every activity is is a learning opportunity. As
yes,
long as, in fact, we are up and about and we are awake, so learning opportunities are there. We just have to capitalize, utilize, maybe, focus our attention a little in that direction, and the learning will happen because of the intrinsic interest or organic interest of the child
yes.
in that activity.
Absolutely. The child is activated. The child's mind is activated. The child's hands are activated. The child is cycling, or the child is bathing, or the child is whatever, doing whatever, craft
Hmm.
or art or whatever. Okay.
Hmm.
The choices either the child can create, especially I'm talking about the online time, the child can create, or the teachers can present to the child like a buffet. Okay, we
Right.
all like buffets because, okay, you can have this and I would like to have that. It's the
Choice.
same with teachers can say, okay, so today's theme is cars. You can either paint a car, make a car, watch your car, wash your car, and so on, whatever. Some five, six different options. Now the children are excited. Today's theme is cars and we can do so many things. Somebody can
Right.
even just read a car story and say, okay, I didn't do make anything. I just read a car story, right? So the teachers compile this, which isn't too difficult. It actually takes just few minutes, and the rest is taken over by the children because they are excited by it. And the
Right.
worst is, let's say a child doesn't do anything to do with the cars, doesn't matter. The child is
Ah,
still doing something that he likes doing.
yes.
That's the whole idea.
Yes, and in any case, like as you said, and children are full of energy. So in any case, they are doing something. There is
Yeah.
no possibility either the child is sleeping or the child is actually doing something. So as
Yeah.
long as the child is up and about and doing something, so even if it may not be related to the topic that we've assigned, the
Yeah.
child has actually gone through one more day of learning or 24 hours of learning, and so that itself, as long as you are able to probe the child and discuss what the child did, and expand on that, rather than being stuck into what task you were assigned. So that's a wonderful opportunity which is there for all children. And here, you are also releasing the child from any kind of grading or scaling or assessment or competition of who's ahead and who's behind, because there's no comparison.
Yeah.
each,
Yeah. Yeah.
each child is following his own interest at his own pace, and exploring the opportunity, and may keep coming back to that same activity again and again. And in fact, the repetition is what actually internalizes the learning for the child.
Absolutely. And you realize that the parents are invariably and interestingly involved in it, because they are also now looking at those tracks. They are trying to see, oh, where did the child learn this? Where did
Hmm.
the child do talking? Where did the child do this? Where did the child do writing or whatever? So now if the parents feel, or the teacher feels that in these 4 days we didn't do too much of this. We did other things, but we did not press these buttons. Now the tracking again helps the teacher itself to evolve the plan accordingly. So it's a
Right.
dynamic plan. It's like in exercise we say, na, if I'm only focusing on stamina, oh, 4 days I've been focusing on stamina. Today let me focus on flexibility. It's the same way. So
Hmm.
or in food, we if we say, oh, we have been eating too much of carbs, so let's focus little on protein. Today let me cook this, right? Because I've been cooking too much of other things. So it's the same thinking. The teachers and the parents and everybody now starts looking as to how the child could be learning so many different things in whatever the child is doing. Absolutely, it can involve the parents, which is what I'm really excited about.
Yes, yes. I think what we've discussed today is opens up a whole. I don't know how shall I say. It opens up a whole horizon for learning a new thought process, and it's very exciting. I feel this is something which we should certainly think about. Uh, you know. Develop the thought process so that we can go forward and actually start using it or start implementing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is, if you could call your teachers together and throw this idea to them and
Okay.
say, hey, how do you think about it?
Hmm.
What are the advantages you feel? Tell them that there will be issues, challenges which you will see initially. But if the core idea is exciting, then the challenges is only a matter of time when you guys only are capable of figuring out the solutions too. Nobody
Right.
needs to kind of necessarily give you a lot of gyan about it. So if they are excited about it and they start thinking how they can start implementing it. uh, to start with, we can only start with whatever the child did at home. Now right now the children are all at home, so let's
Hmm.
say tomorrow's call to all the children is, okay, everybody, tomorrow you just have to talk for
About
3 minutes
what you
about
did.
what you did, what
Yes.
all you did. And we start with that. The first track of talking itself is ticked. One of the huge communication skills, which
Hmm. Hmm.
even after MPAs, you go through training program on communication. So we'll start it at 3 years, 4 years. Anyway, they're so wanting to talk and
Yes.
express
Yes.
in
Yes.
whichever language they want to express. So let's start with that. And slowly you can see each track, the teacher starts thinking, oh, how can I build this? Oh, how can I bring in art? Oh, how can I bring in language? How can I bring in fine motor skills? How can I bring in gross motor skills and so on? And I think the other exciting part is if they can create this little template and give it to the child to take. When the child realizes my progress is in my hand, then they feel really, oh, I want to do this also. I want to be a tick there also, because
Hmm.
it's their progress. Nobody else is ticking or crossing. They may sometimes tick without doing it also. That's okay. There is there is this whole journey that they will soon, initially they may want to just take everything. Ah, I did everything. So what? But slowly, slowly they realize that there is nothing. No, nobody says anything. My parents don't tell me where did you did. Teacher doesn't tell me. No, I might as well be honest with myself. So I think over
And I've seen in children are intrinsically very honest,
very, very honest.
very
Absolutely.
honest, and quite, I would say, quite strict in terms of their own assessment. Self assessment is generally,
Yeah.
you know, we would tend to look at it more, in a more, how shall I say, lenient fashion. But children, when they
Yeah.
self assess, are very strict with themselves. So, and mostly honest. I've seen, especially if there is
Yeah.
no pressure to perform. So then they are very upfront and honest about it. So I think this is a wonderful thought process that you have initiated. I think I'm very excited to go back and talk to my teachers and and get their inputs. I want us all to be on the same page, so that
Yeah.
once we are all on the on the same thought process, then we can take it forward to the children and to the parents.
Yeah.
um,
In fact, I would say, Seema, it is not necessary for all teachers to be on the same page. Some would be embracing this idea. Those are your thought leaders.
right.
Some may be more reluctant, more hesitant about it. That's okay.
Yes.
Just like teachers, just like adults, just like children, everybody has their own journey. So
Right.
I would say even if some and let's say some thought leaders are with you in this, some are excited. I think that's good enough. The idea is to just start off, and others will see the value on the way.
Right. Perfect. So I think that sounds good. I'm looking forward to implementing, like
Great.
discussing with the teachers, and seeing if we can have at least some of them on board, and then start the thought process. And if once we are able to excite and engage the children,
Yeah.
then everybody gets excited.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so, and I just want to reiterate, we are there to support you in terms of like having discussions just like we had right now. So,
Okay.
any number of discussions which you feel, your teachers feel they need to have with us, we are there to support you.
Right. So I'm thinking I'll have a discussion with my teachers, and if we are able to identify, some teachers who are excited by the entire idea, then maybe we can have a joint session with the
Sure,
teachers,
sure.
and maybe several sessions, and then kind of develop, uh, you know, how to go about the process, do a little bit of hand holding, so that
Mm-hmm.
in the initial phase everybody feels comfortable going
Sure,
forward,
sure.
and take it from there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I hope if there are more people seeing this video, they can also get some ideas from it and see if they would like to do something either at this school, or if you are a parent, then you can actually do it at your home.
At home. Very
Yeah.
true.
So
Very true.
anybody can start with this wonderful journey of child-led learning and child-integrated learning. And maybe we can do a different call, Seema, for
Okay.
the older teachers. Yeah,
Right.
sorry, for the older children group, the middle school and the high school, we can approach it little differently,
Right.
and we can talk about it whenever you want to talk about that also.
Okay. So we can set up another meeting,
Sure,
maybe, and
sure,
then talk about more about the older children,
sure.
and see how that goes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you
Okay.
so much, Ratnesh. It's been wonderful connecting with you, and I'm looking forward. This is something I feel we should take it forward, explore, and grow. It's a huge learning opportunity for us also,
Yeah.
and once we are learning, automatically the learning rubs off onto the children also.
Sure, sure. And thank you for accepting my request to go live so that we can reach out to more people with these thoughts. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Ratnesh.
Yeah. Bye bye. Yeah.
Bye bye.